everyone. Welcome to the Don't Speak on It podcast, the podcast that keeps you energized, informed, and empowered. My name is Slaheoldine.
And my name is Theresa.
And we are both women in real estate and construction. And we have been for a number of years. I would say we're very successful within our respective areas in the industry. I think over the years and having conversations with each other, having conversations with other women in the industry, I think there are some themes and topics that tend to come up often. And for me personally, sometimes I tend to just see them as normal or parts of the trade or parts of the business. But Theresa and I have been having many conversations over the past few months about some of our experiences and realizing that we actually have come across similar experiences or the same experiences. Some are negative, some don't make us feel that comfortable, but we're very strong women in the industry, so we kind of just used to it. But I think it's important that we have conversations about what we do experience as females, as women in the industry, and not just construction and real estate, business in general, just to highlight some of those things and then see how we can try and overcome those. So, Theresa, I know you're very passionate about female empowerment, women empowerment, and also it's not just a UK issue. You are from Atlanta, and this is something that women experience all over the world, Australia, etc. So just wanted to hear your perspective really on some of the issues that us women face in business and construction, really.
Well, some of the issues that we face, of course, is not being included, not feeling included. I've worked in organizations where the board in the boardroom, when they have board meetings, there was no women. And the only woman that was higher up was in HR. But including the women in business decisions is very important. And I think that's an issue. And within the same organization, things used to happen like they would always ask the women to make them a cup of tea or coffee. Yes. And I've had a colleague that said, why don't they ask some of the men sometimes, and she felt a certain kind of way. So these are things that's overlooked often. And I even brought it to the attention of the HR manager and said, look, this organization is sexist. And she said, why is that? Why you say that? But, deep inside, she knew that it was sexist. However, they've been going on that long. It was just ingrained in the industry anyway, because the industry is majority male dominant. So these are some of the issues that we have in the industry, and you're not taken serious as a woman sometimes.
Yeah. No, and that's true. And as you say, sometimes it's things that people don't realize that they're saying that come across or are discriminatory or sexist. Like you say, can you make us a tea, etc. Or like even when you're in meetings, like I have it often when you're in meetings and people say, oh, thanks guys, or welcome gentlemen, and then they notice you and they're like, oh, and lady. And it's like funny because they are showing the acknowledgement that you're there. It's almost like an afterthought-ish. But then also showing that they are automatically conditioned that in whatever room they're in is often or usually male dominated or all males. So they're so used to playing that program of there being men, it doesn't even occur to them that there might be a woman. So they don't even think about that in the use of language and the whole inclusive language thing, which is very talked about and contentious topic, I think, with all, genders and whatnot. So yeah, even just small things like that. It depends on the type of person you are. Sometimes those things you can take offense to them. Sometimes you can just be so used to them, you know where you are. If you're in a male dominated industry, you're aware of that. You're in the automotive industry, which I've been in. I'm aware of.
But doesn't make it right. It doesn't make it right. But yeah, you just overlook it. You be like, whatever,
Yeah, absolutely. And you do get, you do become sometimes guilty of overlooking things and accepting how things are, the status quo, being just like, whatever, it's expected, suck it up. And should we be sucking it up and just getting on with it? Or should we be trying to change? Can we change, people's Freudian slips and unconscious speaking
bias? Yeah. And so this is something that I spoke about a long time ago. It's really ingrained in the psyche. It's a psychological, and it stems all the way back to history as far as and passed on our roles as women. and people, it's taken a long time for people to accept women in industries like that. But during, I think, not the Industrial Revolution, but when the men went off to war, women would work on planes, they would do all sorts of stuff. So why is it such an issue now? But when the men returned home from war, then we had to resume, a lot of us had to resume our duties back in the household.
Yeah.
And again, it comes from history, you know, and I think it's just ingrained in some people. They see women as being in certain roles, and that's whether it's in a kitchen or as an admin and
Mm.
nothing else. I spoke to someone who was in technology. She owns her own tech firm. And she said, you'll be amazed how when she goes to these events and they come up, they overlook her and they'll start speaking to the man.
Yes. Yeah.
And she's the owner.
Yeah.
And she said she just looking, and it doesn't matter what race you are. Women are still dealing with this. And when I go to construction, I went to a construction network event. It was a lady. She was like, "I'm so happy to see women. I'm so happy to be around women." And and she works for one of the larger construction firms.
Yeah.
And she was it's just the way she said it. I can tell that she was having a hard time as a woman within that organization.
Yeah, and it's so true. And I just wanted to pick back up on the part when you said about, when you go into meetings or board meetings and is predominantly male and also predominantly a certain age group, maybe
Yeah.
over 40, over 50. I've been in many boardrooms, because I've worked for different large corporate companies, and I've been in many boardrooms talking about important. When I say important, real estate is like, massive real estate that really affect and influence the infrastructure of a particular country. Those sort of, when you get to sort of levels like that, the majority of the people that I'm going into boardrooms with are male and are of a certain age range, and I'm like the youngest, and I'm the only black, and then I'm the only female. And if say, for example, there's something that I need to lead, or a topic that I need to lead, or it's a topic that I'm spearheading, I consciously make an effort in my head to think, right, I need to be assertive. I need to be, my body language needs to show that I am in this meeting and I am the leader of the meeting, or I'm something to contribute. Or even when I go as a client to some events and I'm with someone who's a male, I travel and speak to stakeholders and I'm there as a client and I'm with a guy and I'm actually leading the process. And I don't know, I do find myself looking at seeing other consultants going to look at him or going to look at me, and he's visibly younger than I am, but they still will divert to him. Also, he's not black. And, so it's things like that. But I just kind of, I think because I'm aware of my surroundings, I counter adapt. So I adapt in a way that I really try to make sure that I am seen, I am heard, I am respected, um, I'm making people aware that I'm the person that actually is in charge of this meeting. But it's something that I have to consciously do and go, hi, I'm Slaheoldine, and I've got to be strong, and I've got to have a strong handshake, and I've got to speak eloquently, and
Do you find that exhausting?
Yeah, it is. And it's also like, if you're going on a film set or you're going to go for a play, you're on, the lights are on, action. And it kind of feels like that. It's like, yeah, if you were an actor, do you get tired of being on all the time? I'm sure they do, of course they do. A lot of people have issues when it comes to those sorts of careers. So yeah, sometimes it is a bit like, I wish I could just walk in a room and people just expect and not assume, not make any assumptions, and just whoever, starts leading the meeting, they can go, oh, okay, this person leading, or divert to questions. But I think it is changing because, I've had board meetings in other countries, and some are more sort of naturally accepting or aware than others. I think some do just do the natural, oh, hi, Mr. So and so, and would you like a cup of coffee, and and then you're like secondary. But then I've got others that have been really welcoming. I look at their eyes, and I'm not looking for a problem. I'm just being aware of where
The
their
surroundings.
mentality is, and so I can, and my surroundings, and so I can then navigate that accordingly. I think we do have to be switched on. I think we do have to, I don't want to say overcompensate, because I always feel like overcompensate has negative connotations to mean that you're doing something that's not naturally you. I think we have to kind of, like I said, counter impose ourselves in a way that we are showing up.
Yeah.
We can't afford to relax,
Well,
otherwise we might just fade into the background.
well, one thing that stuck with me, Oprah was talking about it, and with all of her billions,
Mm.
Oprah said that when she go to with all her money, when she go into board meetings, they
Mm.
still look at her like, why is this black woman here?
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's still there. And so she's proven herself. She's made the money. She's one of the richest, and she still is going through that issue when she sit at board meeting, board level meetings and stuff like that.
Mm.
So I'm just wondering, when does it end? And again, it's two strikes against with us when we were, for one, a woman, for
Mm.
two, we're black women. And
Mm.
so that's the issue. And I find, especially in construction now, their idea of diversity is they're bringing women, but they're bringing no ethnic minorities in
Mm.
into their it's white women
Mm. Yeah,
only.
that's true.
And
I
that's what I'm seeing a lot.
Mm. Yeah, and there's 2 points that I wanted to just touch on what you said. One of them was, I think some people might feel like a bit disenfranchised and feel disheartened and thinking, well, if Oprah doesn't even get any kind of grace or respite, then what's the point? Why what the hell have I got chance? And that might kind of discourage people. And I just only wanted to say that we still have to keep fighting. I think if you keep moving, you've got to build that momentum. And I think if you keep building that momentum, enough people keep rising to the top and keep standing up, and I think things will start to change. I don't think it's ever going to be eradicated so long as there are people and thoughts and mindsets and bias and all of that. But I think it's important that we keep doing that and we don't give up just because we think there's no respite or there's no grace, or you know what I mean, there's no
Yeah.
position where we can be fully 100% accepted, because I don't believe necessarily there is going to be a world that exists that's like that, maybe far into the future. But I think we need to continue doing the work now in order for that to be a possibility. So don't get discouraged by the fact that people like Oprah Winfrey is still
She's a fighter, so she just pushes through. Yes,
exactly.
yes.
But definitely, to touch on the second point that you mentioned about the diversity thing and it being more focused on white women, and I have seen that in a sense where sometimes I go to diversity events and they're celebrating women, and it's not even like I'm looking for it. I don't look for these type of things. I'm not that type of person that goes, right, how many black people are in here and how many non-white people are in here. I'm so used to being in an environment where I'm the only black person. It's just normal to me. But some things I just can't help notice. Sometimes you do go to these events that celebrating women in construction, and they are all white, and it's just something that I noticed, and it just shows the percentage. It's not saying that these events and what they're highlighting is anything discriminatory. What it's showing is the percentage of women or women of color who are in the industry and also who are being promoted and who are being seen enough to receive awards or receive recognition. I think that's what the issue is. I just think the percentage of women of color in the industry, specifically construction, is just a lot smaller, and also we're not getting that much recognition. So I think that's like the two-prong issue. So as you said, I go to same. I went to another event recently, which was women in construction, and I think there were two black women, me and another lady. So I completely agree with you. There's disparity there. So even amongst the women demographic, we're still a minority that still have to push through, and we still have the intersectionality issue that we face.
As women, period, we have to deal with a lot. And I've seen women that's in the industry for 12 years and they still fighting this whole equality as being a woman in the industry. The engineering is the same and and with that being said, I find that there's really issues I've seen, you know, when women have care responsibilities for their children and things
Yes.
of that sort. It's like they don't care on the other end. So there's a lack of empathy from that perspective. And
Mm-hmm.
then also, which some companies are getting better at that,
Yeah.
they are offering flexibility.
Mm-hmm.
And then, and then the other issue is the sexist remarks or them coming on to I was on a call and the lady said that when she first, and this was a Black lady, she said when she first got onto the job, she said she knows how to put men in their place. But she said some of the males that was there that she worked with, they were very overprotective with her. And they said, if someone says something out the way, let me know, and I'll sort them out, like a big brother. And I
Very well.
think, yeah, and I think in the industry, we need more males like that
Mm.
will step up because, some a woman shouldn't have to go to work. And we've seen it with the surgeons. We've seen it with the surgeons. We've seen it with people in other areas in other industries that they have to endure sleeping their way to the top or being hit on when they
Yeah.
just want to go to work.
No, yeah, and there's a lot there that you said, and just about the surgeons. That was obviously that was in Australia, and I think that's
It's here too.
yeah, yeah. I mean, it's everywhere. I mean,
Yes,
yeah,
everywhere. So, because it was just in the paper. It was just in the
it was
paper
us.
about, yeah, article. I think Personnel Today or one of them said something about or it was the Guardian or something, said something about the surgeons here were being, yeah. So it's
Yeah,
all in the NHS, and unfortunately.
and I think in positions of power is positions of power and prestige. Like you say, like doctors, law,
Law, because there was an
basically.
issue with a law firm, exactly, with a WhatsApp chat, and the lady, they were making jokes about the males.
Mm. Yeah, no, exactly. And the one that I was going to mention in Australia that you shared with me, the lady was saying, the women might as well just comply and perform the sexual favors that have been offered to them in order for them to not lose their job. That came up with a lot of contention because, there are people obviously who feel like, you shouldn't have to comply and suffer in silence, and you shouldn't have to be fearful of your job. So your consequences to stick in a job that is being predatory towards you. And you shouldn't be punished for speaking up about wrongdoings, but this is what happens. And some people don't get removed because they're in positions of power, they've got
Mhm.
influence, they're respected. The people who are responsible of moving them are part of their boys club or whatever association or network they're connected with. So it does make it very difficult for women to speak up, to want to speak up, to support each other. Because maybe a woman might have seen or heard something and she's like, well, I don't want to lose my job, so I'm not even going to get involved, and
Yeah.
and so there's women not supporting women, and then there's men not supporting. And I think it is very important, as you say, for men to stand up as well and support and just understand the plight of women that they experience. I think some men don't really appreciate that women still experience discrimination in every aspect of life. And I think it's almost like that was back in the day, suffragettes, you guys can vote now, you guys can, you get a bit of maternity leave, you get a bit of care support and
Yeah.
pay, you should be fine. And I'd be no, we experience things every day, every instance. And then add on top of that any type of intersectionality, like your sexual orientation, your race, ethnicity. You add that on top of being a female, you're hit with double whammy, and any other kind of connotations that come along with it. It does make it challenging, but as you say, to have allyship is very important.
It is. And another thing that comes up is that someone said, and they came from another cultures. I'm going to mention cultures because
Mm.
cultures are very important. There's the cultures that believe that, again, there's places for men and there's places for women. So not only are you dealing with his history, you're dealing with people with different cultures. And one thing that was said to me one day, it says, oh, women want equality, but if they want equality, why they need help? They should be able to pick up 20 pounds worth of stuff just like a man. They should be able to do the same amount of work as a man,
Yeah.
but they want equality, but they can't do the same amount of work. And
Yeah.
so, in one of the articles I read about, women also using that to their advantage, say, oh, can you help me with this and help me with this, and, use it to their advantage.
Yeah.
And so that's another take on it. If we ask for that type of equality, should we be able to deliver to a certain standard, just like, and we may be very well capable and we may be not, but some are, of doing the work. But should we stand, 10 toe on what we say? We want that equality, but at the end of the day, we're using it to our benefit.
I think that's a contentious topic, because I think there's abuse. It's abuse of power on all aspects. I think, and I
Yes,
think abusing of
feminine,
so
feminine,
yeah, there's an abuse of like, can you do this for
femininity.
me? Can you open this for me? You know, and I think people do it in all aspects of life, and some
Yes.
are just lazy and we're like, you know what, I can't bother. I need a big strong man to do it. I've had this I need a big strong man to do
Yeah, can you
it.
come help me? I'm a damsel in distress. Please come and
Yeah.
help me,
And some people do use it. Some people do use the whole damsel in
Yes.
distress thing. I know I am not, I'm a very headstrong, stubborn person. So I'm like, I'm gonna do it myself, and I'm
You
gonna
just
keep
gotta
it.
get on with it.
Even if I'm failing, I'm gonna. Someone's trying to help me, and like, let me just help. And I'm like, no, let me do it. But
Yeah.
that's just because the way I'm wired. But some people do feel like they can use it, and I just think, well, you have to be careful when if you are doing that, because yeah, in instances where you're wanting equality, you still want to be able to show that you can do something. So I would say don't abuse that. There's a little bit of a privilege with that, I think, with the whole connotations of women being weaker than men, etc. I think there's a privilege in that some people use to their advantage. And I do think that can shoot you in the foot, because, as I said, now when you're going to say, I'm capable and I'm able to do something, people are going to look at you, well, you're not really that strong, or I'm not going to give you this job, because you've already put yourself in a hole that
Yeah.
you put yourself. So I think it's a slippery slope to be able to play those games. And I think if you are playing those games, you need to be cognizant of that, and you need to be careful, because you will cry wolf, and then it's going to lead you in problems, I think,
They're
in the
not
future.
going to take you seriously. And then when you want to move up in those higher roles, is she going to be able to take all the pressure? Is she's going to be able to lead properly? Because let's be honest, that a lot of politicians, especially women politicians, they use our emotions, and our emotional side, and they see it as a weakness.
Mm.
So it's being seen as a weakness sometimes, because we have empathy, and they say we lead with emotions, but sometimes that's a good thing.
Mm.
And I read, sometimes on a site, when a man swear or blow up or get angry, it's okay. It's just him being. And also the basketball, women sports, they complain about the same thing. When they get emotional and have that
Yeah.
adrenaline going through and say
Yeah.
yeah and swear, or act a certain way, they too emotional. But when a man doing it, it's a part of the game, you
That's
know and
yeah.
so one lady was saying on the construction site, when a woman do it, then she must be on that time of the month or something,
Yeah,
she's going
that's
through.
yeah, I hate that. I hate when people say that to me in any capacity. I express my emotion, I say, oh, this is how I'm feeling. And I'm like, oh, maybe it's just, time like and again, that's a privilege that people use. And I think that's the problem, because there are people who use that and go, oh, I'm PMSing. So, basically this is an excuse for my bad behavior. I
Yeah,
think that is a problem. And then that's causing problems for other women who don't lean on these privileges that we have, because everybody has privileges, right? It's something that you can use to abuse your power to benefit you, right? And so everyone has these privileges, and but we have the privilege of being able to blame negative emotions and expression on a time of the month, and we can do it every month, and we can do it at any moment of the month, and no one will know about it. But as I said, the problem of crying wolf is that when things are really happening, people aren't really going to believe you, and it also then creates a negative connotation on women in general. If
yeah,
enough women are saying and using PMS as an issue, and PMS is a real issue. There is a real issue with hormones and having an effect on your moods and your behavior and the way you do things. It is real. Women who do experience that, I think it's definitely important to highlight that to people. But there are people who probably lean on it too much, and then that
Yeah.
creates a whole blanket negative stigma on women, and then it's hard for us to actually use it when it's
I've
actually.
experienced that. I worked with someone who wasn't nice. She was very nasty and she blamed it on her menopause. I mean, she
Mm,
had premenopause, so she was younger.
right.
And I understand, yeah, people do go through menopause and they get snappy. But
Mm,
again, it wasn't just towards me. The whole organization would talk about how they did not like this person.
mm,
And when I visit other offices, they would talk about how they couldn't stand her. Part of that is she was lazy as well. So
mm.
it doesn't help. But she used that as a crutch to just be nasty.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's the thing, and that's the problem. And then what people then do is associate that behavior with this natural thing that happens to women. And then
Yeah.
when actually, like you say, going through things, experience low moods and almost depression through their hormones that are acting in a certain way, it really makes it difficult to be able to get any kind of allowance, or any kind of um, support in those instances, because people don't take it seriously. But in some instances it can be a really serious thing, like even
Yeah.
going, even like calling in sick because you've got bad period pains, or when you're at work. I've had to sometimes stay at work. I had really, because I used to get really bad, and like bad pains, like crippling, and it's very difficult to do anything, to think.
Yep.
You just want to sleep. And some people wouldn't understand that. Even some women who don't have bad pains don't understand that. But when it gets you bad, it gets you bad. And when I was working with so I used to repair like electronic telecommunications devices and stuff. And I'd be on my feet all day and stuff like that. And I had a really bad time this time. And I was saying to my boss, I was like, I just can't. Like, I'm literally doubling over in pain. I
Yeah.
can't speak to customers. I cannot conduct any sale. I literally cannot. So I guess they didn't want me to go home. So they were like, okay, just go in the back and just repair, just do the repairing and stuff. So I had to sit on the stool and I was repairing, and I don't
But
know.
you can't think.
I
You
was just like, yeah, and I wasn't really that productive because all I was
no.
thinking was the pain. I was doubling over, and not only that, it's the embarrassment, or there's a bit of an embarrassment, I think, or shame. I know that sometimes I feel of feeling that in public. I
Yeah.
just want to be on my own, in my own space. I don't really want to be around people and people are asking what's up. I don't even want to say to my boss, who's male, I'm having.
My daughter is the same way because sometimes when it's bad, once a month, I have to go pick my daughter up from
Yeah,
school.
and you
And
gotta
she
go.
says she's feel uncomfortable telling the male teacher. I've sent the email to the school. She feels
Mm,
uncomfortable telling the male teacher what's wrong with her. And
mm,
so I understand because my daughter is the same way. They stay out of school sometimes because
bad.
of it. And it's just a
Yeah,
part of being a female. And
yeah,
what I'm finding is that some women are dropping out of the construction industry because they're not supported on
yeah,
the aspects of being a woman, being a carer, of having care responsibilities, and being able to have flexible so that they can be there for the kids. It was a thing when I was in the engineering sector. They don't want anyone part-time. Why not?
yeah,
You have women who have care responsibilities. Why can't
yeah,
you do a job share?
yeah.
What about flexible working? Work
Mm.
with people. And then, they cry and say that there's a shortage in the industry. But unfortunately,
Diversity, lack of
yes,
diversity.
and so they're not working with the needs of women. And
Mm,
we can talk about how can they improve this. And to me, they can improve it. So for one, get more diversity people, let women have a voice,
mm,
make inclusive and policies. And
mm,
even though, like I said, they have the menopause policy, but I have not only menopause, I combine it with the andropause, which is the male version of that,
mm,
of menopause.
mm,
Have inclusive policies for all, fair policies for all. I've seen it where some people were able to come in when they feel like it. Some people weren't, some
Yeah.
people. And what happens is that workers lose respect when that
Yeah.
happens. They're watching.
Yeah.
They're watching, they seeing this. I had one person tell me, "Oh, I really don't think it's good. It's too much chiefs and not enough Indians in this company."
Mm-hmm.
And they were like, it's very strange to see, everyone else is here on time, but to see a manager just walk in when he feels like it.
Yeah, people begrudge that. They do.
Yeah. So lead by example. It's just a lot that I think could be done to support women in the industry a little better. And of course, make it more diverse. People, they want to work with who they're comfortable with. Going back to the sports, how sometimes the adrenaline rush, it's a known fact, you get adrenaline rush and you may swear or a woman act a certain kind of way. And this has been a complaint against the basketball, women's football,
Who's
all the
complaining?
same.
Just out of curiosity, is it the fans? Is it the
The Well,
yeah.
some people, so what will happen when a woman get emotional and get mad at the, just like when Serena we used to play, when she used to
Oh,
get mad
oh, they
at when she
villainized them both, didn't they? When they were
at
grunting and how fast they were, and oh, they're like men, and
yeah,
yeah.
and when she got emotional and got upset,
Mm,
there was an issue. But then when men get upset and swear, they're
mm,
not penalized the same way as a woman is.
mm,
And
mhm.
so these are, so you have the fans complaining about how a woman act during the sports, but
Mm.
then the sports players are complaining because there's a fine line and a disparity on how they're penalized and how they're looked at when they get emotional during a sport.
Yeah,
Is one rule for one, another rule for another.
yeah. No, it's very true.
Yeah. So that is an issue at work as well. It's not just in sports. It's an issue at work, how it's okay for certain people to do certain things, but then when a woman does it, or if a woman get emotional, then they can't. Like the MP of New Zealand, they would, some of the MPs started taking their babies to some of the political,
Engagements.
yeah, speaking engagement. Some people may feel, why she have her baby here, and why not lead with compassion? There's not
Mm.
a negative, it's not bad to lead with compassion. It's not.
Yeah.
I think it can be a balance. And people say, oh, that's why we'll never have a woman president, that's why we'll never have a woman. I've heard, we've all heard this before. Oh, that's why we'll never have another woman MP. You just need the right woman MP, and not put everyone in the same box. But as soon as you can have 20 men that mess up in politics, one woman mess up in politics, and it's all women.
We're not doing that again.
Yeah.
That didn't work out. We tried it.
Yes. And you, especially after that last one, they're like, oh, that's why we don't
Yeah,
need women.
yeah, it could be one for a while. I reckon the last two that we've had, and I think there's also, it's like the overcompensation of being hard. Like the Thatcher Iron Fist. There's that overcompensation. That's why I didn't want to use that word earlier, because there's that version where you're just being extra hard and extra aggressive and extra mean, and it's not necessary. I think, like,
It's not.
let's just be ourselves, and let's just, like you said, like the women taking their babies, that's a part of who we are. We can get pregnant, we can have babies, and if you don't have someone to care for it, you bring a baby along. Like, we are working women. It's different if you're not a working woman. It's a different scenario. There are women who choose to stay at home or be housewives or house women, and then there are women who choose to work and do both. And if you're deciding to do that, I think there should be accommodation for the person who's coming into that work world and she's a product of her bodily makeup. I mean, we can't choose these. We can't, okay, people can choose to have babies, but you can't choose a period every month, or menopause, or any of these natural hormonal things that happen with women, with females. So I think those things should be accommodated, because we are in the workforce. We do want to do well. We want to be successful. We want to climb up the ladder. We want to own our own businesses. We have drive and ambition. So long as women are embodying all of those things, the workplaces or places where we exist need to accommodate for us, just as they accommodate for men. and it's like the example with the PPE, the protection gear. You go on site and they've got all of the protection gear there ready for you, and it's not ready for you, or it's not ready for me. It's
Yeah.
ready for a man with a size 10, 11 foot.
Well,
That's what it's ready for.
that's another thing. I put a post ages ago about how structure in the industry that they can help make, especially sites, women friendly. And
Yeah.
one is even the
Oh,
women toilets, no women areas for them to even put,
yeah, the sanitary. Yeah,
yes. And
yeah.
so thinking about those things, to me is very important as a company, and
Mm,
as more and more women come into the industry.
yeah.
And unfortunately, when a person has a bad experience, sometimes it leaves them, they want to leave the industry as a whole.
Yeah.
But I think it's worth fighting, and we have to continue to fight.
It is worth fighting for. And like we said, if there are companies who are saying that they want to be diverse, they want to support women, they need to consult with women and what the needs are, so that they can consider those needs whenever they're doing their purchasing orders, ordering equipment, ordering tools, do the tools fit the hand size, average hand size of a woman or average hand size of a man? Are things accommodating the industry that they are wanting to see? You need to create the industry you want to see. You can't create the past industry and use all the past tools and the past ways of doing things and go, but we're looking to the future and this is what we want for the future and we want to open it up to everybody. But you're not enabling the foundation to support what you want in the future.
The behavior has to match the actions, the behavior has to match what is being said. And I think that's where organizations get it wrong. They say, oh, we want an inclusive organization, we want diverse, we want to bring women, but the
Mm,
culture in itself, which is so deep rooted in
mm,
these industries, that it's so hard to change, because
yeah,
you have people who's, like, I know when I worked in engineering, there's people there that's been there for 20 something years, and
yeah,
they just set in their ways. There's no changing. And so you have that. And when you try to do something new, it's
mm,
kind of hard for them to take it. But then you may have the owners of the company or the people that's higher up.
mm,
Again, they're so set in their ways and they've been there for years. And,
yeah,
so how do you go into these cultures or these organizations when you have people who've been there for years, used to doing things a certain way, and change their way of thinking? It
yeah.
is a huge task, and it's the issue that HR has been trying to tackle for a long time.
Mm. Yeah, and that's the question, how do we do these things? But I think before we come on the solutions, I think one of the other points that you mentioned as well was women feeling comfortable going into certain spaces. And as we said, it's not just construction, real estate, in business, it's in all areas. I had a question posed to me about women feeling comfortable in certain surroundings that are male dominated. The question was about, how do we as women navigate being an entrepreneur as a woman in a male dominated industry? Because they found that sometimes they don't know how to navigate when they're networking with men who may have an interest in them. They find that person, maybe the man finds them attractive or whatever, and this particular person said their first reaction is to retreat, and because they only are coming there to do business and create business relationships, and they don't want to feel comfortable, so they kind of maybe just don't go and to any networking events. And I've been in that situation. I went to an event, I think last year. It was it was a launch of some sort. I'm there networking as I usually do. One guy I was talking to, and he's like, yeah, so what do you do? And I'm just like, oh my god, here we go. And I'm just, I'm talking, I'm not going to be rude or standoffish, I'm talking and I'm still business like. He's just not being business like at all. And then he's like, yeah, trying with his chat lines, and oh, maybe you can help me, and da 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 da. Like, this is how he was talking, and I was just like, no, and I don't do. And the particular area that he was asking about, I was like, I don't do that. And he goes, oh, I can still take your number. You never know. Da 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 da. I'm under duress, and this has happened to me a few times in my life. I've given the number out of like, just get away, leave me alone, right? Which is a problem as well, right?
Yeah.
To duress, give your personal details, but that happens, and I've been in that situation, so I understand what it's like. But I was just like, oh well, I don't do that area, but my friend does that area, right? And I didn't
Yeah.
even I didn't take him too seriously that I'm so used to that behavior.
Exactly. You
I just
just,
kind of laughed it off and didn't really see it as a thing. But
exactly.
I didn't even see it as a problem to refer my friend, who's also a female, and say, look, no, she does it though. Because in my head, I'm thinking business, 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 money,
Exactly.
whatever. We forget about what he's on. We're trying to make money as women, right? We're
Yeah.
trying to be successful. So I was like, well, she does this. And then he was like, yeah. Oh, well, I need a lawyer, da, 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 da. Maybe we can meet up for a coffee. And she felt so uncomfortable. The way that I dealt with it and the way that she dealt with it was so
Yeah.
different. Because sometimes we just deal with things differently. People deal with things differently.
Yep.
And she felt so uncomfortable, and we even spoke about it after, and she was like, I feel really uncomfortable. I felt uncomfortable with the way he was coming across and how he was being, and I don't want him to contact me, and da da da. And I was just like, wow, yeah, I'm so used to being in male dominated industries that I've almost created a coating almost,
Yes.
a varnish where it just bounces off me, and I'm just like, move along. I expect it. I don't
Exactly.
let it bother me. I just keep pressing on. But I stopped appreciating that some women just don't feel that way, and
No,
they
they
still
don't feel
feel offended
comfortable.
and feel uncomfortable. And I think, like, let's talk about that. How it is difficult in any industry.
I get them in my LinkedIn. I get them in my
Yeah,
LinkedIn. I've had them in my
I've
LinkedIn.
had it. LinkedIn is the worst place
Yes,
because
I've
you tell
had them in
people,
my LinkedIn.
and LinkedIn isn't one of them.
And are you gonna spend you? But and I had one tell me, you can use your looks to get business, and I said, well, why would I do that? Because I'm very well qualified. Why would I do that? I don't need to do that. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, and this is what the guy told me. And
Crazy.
and I'm like, oh, that is not good. But yeah.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Again, you quick-witted, the way that you present yourself and you're used to it, you're able to come back and go, I'm qualified, don't need you, don't need any of that, so I'm fine. But yeah, there are still a large percentage of women who just would feel uncomfortable. They would, if they get it enough times, maybe even once, and they'll be like, I don't want to do this. I'm not going to get into this industry. This is too much. I
Yeah.
feel uncomfortable. I feel, like there are people who are predatory,
Yeah.
and just maybe you're going to harass you. You might not want to go to a business dinner.
Yep.
You think someone's got an ulterior motive. And you see it on the films all the time. They're like, oh, let's go for a business dinner. Let's talk it over lunch.
And it happens. Speaking of which, bringing that up, office banter. So, like, I'm from the engineering industry or whatever, and guys, they talk. I mean, where I work, they had calendars up. It was just a male environment, and so. And with that being said, some of the conversations, there was a lady who complained because some of the conversations that were taking place within the office just wasn't really, it was very graphic. Yeah. And so she just didn't like it. And so, and these are the things that women have to put up with, and I'm like, well, why should we have to change the way this is our industry? We used to saying this. And, I'm going to be honest. What I like the industry because of the fact that it's so laid back. I mean, I like to hear the swearing and stuff like that. I'm just that type of person, you know what I mean? Because I swear myself, but
dirty.
Yes. So, like I'll be in the office and I'll be like, oh, for fuck's sake, like that, oh, well, oops, I'm gonna have to beep that out. But I'll be like, oh, but say, and it's just all good. They be swearing, we have laughs, we talk about stuff. So I like it. I think it's fun. But again, it's putting up those boundaries and knowing, and I guess me being in HR, I know how to put up those boundaries and know the line. But there's been situations where men have been forceful and we've had to sack them in the industry, towards women. And they just looked at women as objects, unfortunately. Yes. And you're like, put it back in your pants, dude. Calm down. Calm down. You're at work. You're at work.
Christmas party.
And that's another thing, a Christmas party. The drinking doesn't help. So we've seen situations with that. I mean, being an HR, I've seen all sorts. But these are some of the things, and some of the women don't know how to. That brings me to another topic. I know we're coming close to an end, but I see a lot of construction women now, and there was this was a topic on LinkedIn, the construction women who are half naked to
Yeah, I
sell
saw a
their
video.
business.
I saw a video on Instagram, and this is girl. She
Yeah.
does like the construction work, and she's got like a low top here, and she's got
Mm-hmm.
quite big breasts, and she's like using the jacks or whatever. And I don't know what the type of thing was, but she was she didn't have, what shoes was she wearing? I think she had like shorts on. She had like booty shorts on. She had this half top with the boobs out, and she looked great. But she was on site doing something, and it was like a bit. But you know, Instagram is all for likes and looks anyway.
Yes.
But there was, when I looked at the comments, right? Actually, a lot of the guys were like, "Where's her PPE? Where's her steel toe boots?"
Yeah.
I
And
thought that was really funny,
and
but
and let me tell you, so a lot of women, these certain actions, some women I've seen that do that. They said, oh, we're a woman, we should be able to show our feminism in the industry.
yeah,
And
but you got
then
to be safe though. Do it in a safe way, like.
yes, and then other women said that those type of things take us years back.
Yeah, because it's
So
sexualization of women, isn't it?
yes.
Mm-hmm.
So these are two like arguments, like where do you draw the line? Is it okay to be show your feminism in the industry and who we are,
Yeah.
and on at the same time do it in a respectable way instead of just looking. I've seen them with the they've had the operation,
The
no,
augmentation, the breast
yeah,
augmentation.
yeah, well,
Yeah.
yeah, and they got the
They
fake
want to show
breasts
it
and
off.
stuff like
I
that,
get it.
the lip injections and all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
And in the industry, don't get me wrong, some men they get all the likes, and some men are on there, but they're on there for a
They have the
reason.
nails all long,
Yes,
which is,
yes,
there's nothing
the
wrong with
cost,
being aesthetically pleasing to yourself, right? And
yeah,
dressing how you like and enjoy yourself. But I think there's a time and a place of appropriateness in terms of safety. When it comes to safety, I think that is a big issue. You know, it's the same reason why, okay, maybe the argument is that, okay, we do see workmen with no shirts on. We do see that.
but not often because it
We
is
see
a
it in a
safety
hot
hazard.
country, but in a hot country,
Yeah,
you see it. The
yeah,
men have no top, no
yeah,
top on. They may just have no top on with the high vis, or they ain't got no, you know. And
yeah.
when we walk by, we're like, oh, it's got some abs. So maybe that's the argument that they have. They're like, well, the men are half naked,
Yeah.
women be half naked. So
Well, I seen a movie. My daughters and I was looking at a movie to that similar to that. And in the classroom, the girl, it was like a feminist movie, and the teacher got upset because the girl was wearing a tank top, you
right.
know.
Mm.
And I guess it was just, I don't know if it was low cut, it was a tank top. And he sent her out the class and told her, she needed to change. But her argument was that the basketball players and everything had their tankies and no one ever said anything because they wear tank tops and they show it and take their shirts off and stuff like that. So it's one rule for one and another rule for another. So
Yeah,
yeah.
it's tough, and it's tough because men, yeah, obviously men can take the shirts off, women take the shirts. So there's a lot more to reveal. It's a difficult. I think it's a difficult. Some people are more comfortable with nudity, and others aren't, and I think that is definitely a difficult
Yeah.
conversation, because I get it. I understand both sides. I understand people who do like to
Yeah.
be free and naked and
And
all of
who
that,
they are and who they
and
are,
who
because
they
i'm
are, and like,
i'm already heavy on top, but I have some low cut shirts, and someone came to me, someone was like, yeah, your video, and this was a woman. She said, and she was come from a different area. She said, yeah, you were showing too much, and I'm like, but I can't help it. I'm
you
just,
know, yeah,
certain shirts kind of sit low, and I'm
yeah,
already heavy on top.
I
I
know.
can't help it.
It's hard. It is, and that's the thing.
And
Sometimes the clothing isn't the greatest, you know. And same, like I like to wear, like dresses, or like I wear like a jumper dress type thing, and it does show my curves. It shows my curves, and I enjoy it. If someone else wore the same jumper dress and didn't have the curves, it would look normal. And
totally
sometimes
different. Yeah.
and I do have to wear clothes based on my body type,
Yep.
because I'm aware of my body type. I think you have to be aware of your body type, and I'm not gonna wear a short dress because I'm tall. I've got long legs. I've got curves, so I can't wear a short dress. You know what I mean? So I have to dress accordingly because I know my body type, and I think that's what's important is knowing your body type, knowing what's appropriate for the moment. Okay,
Yeah.
what are you gonna wear at carnival? You ain't gonna
It's
wear it.
totally different. Exactly. So what you're gonna go out with is gonna be totally different. It's just like me. I like short dresses. The other day I had a dress on, and I think it was work experience. And the girl said, "Mommy, that dress looked like a grandma." And I said, yeah, it's my work. I said, it's my work dress. I'm in teacher mode. You know what I mean? Like, it's not the
Yeah,
same type of dress that I would go out in, but I'm
yeah,
in teacher mode. So I got
yeah.
the grandma's polka dot dress with the summer.
I can see the visual of that.
Yeah, they said the top is okay, but it looked like a grandma. I said, yeah, I have different clothes for depending on where I go. You know, you're not gonna dress. I like short dresses because, and someone said, oh, I could never wear short dresses. I had people say I could never wear short. I said, well, my legs is one of my biggest assets, so I like showing it. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
that's how I am coming off the top. You would just have to dress according, not for attention, I guess. And I guess that's how those women feel. That makes them feel good at the moment or whatever. Then will men take us serious? And I guess they saying, you know, they should take us serious no matter what.
Yeah. I think
Yeah.
what they have to stop doing is stop grouping people. Stop grouping women like we're all the same. We're not. You know,
Yeah.
we have different perspectives. We all have different ways of being, just like anybody else. I don't think people, and saying we're not grouping men, we're not saying that all men are like X, Y, and Z. You know, everyone's different. Everyone has different perspectives. Everyone has different ways of doing things. So I think, yeah, just take each individual as they are showing up to be. You know, don't think, oh, we're not going to deal with women because some other woman who is not this direct person has done X, Y, and Z. You know, just take each person as an individual. I think that's what is important. And that's what we need to do in all aspects of every demographic. You know, take each person as they come to you and let them show you who they are, let them prove to you who they are. Don't go with assumptions on a person based on what you think you know about somebody who identifies slightly with that person, whether it's their accent, where they're from, you know, what skin color they have, what hair color
Exactly.
they have. Just blanket. I know it's natural for us to make assumptions. It's a natural humanistic thing for us to make assumptions about people. That's how we survive. However, we need to try and work on controlling that aspect of human nature and thinking of how we can just take a person as they come to us and let them show us who they are, and we can then respond accordingly.
Exactly. And you couldn't have said it better, because that's the one thing, you know, especially being a black woman, it's automatically assumed that you don't know anything sometimes,
Yeah, yeah.
or you don't know what you're doing, or why should I listen to you? Exactly.
Mm.
And the reason why I said that, because someone came to me this week, and as a woman, they said, oh, when I give ideas, it seemed I just started to when I give ideas, it just seemed like they just kind of blanket out and looked over.
Mm.
And I say, yeah, that's because to them, we don't know anything. We don't know anything. When we do, we are credible, we are knowledgeable, we are educated,
Yeah.
and we know a lot. You know, I could improve what I knew until I was removed out of companies. If I worked for someone, will they allow me to show what I know and what I'm capable of? I actually went to the organization that I was made redundant. I went to them and said, look, can I, because I had to get permission from my business. I went to them and said, look, can I start marketing my business? Because I feel like I wouldn't be able to use all of my talent and what I'm capable of here. When I offered to help out in other areas, it was dismissed.
Mm.
Like, why should I said I can help you do that?
Mm.
You know, they dismissed it.
Yeah.
And so it's like, because you know one thing, because you're HR, you know one thing, you don't know anything else.
Anything else. That's your specialty. That's all you know. You're not well rounded.
You're not well rounded. I have a degree in business, and I've taken all different types of, you know, from psychology to all different types of, and I am very knowledgeable in a range of areas. And again, it's the bias, it's the stigma that goes behind, oh, a woman is, you're only good for knowing this, you're not. I can help out with leadership. I know motivation techniques. I know all of this. I can help you with your leadership and to make a better company. But they don't want to know because you're just, and that's another thing. HR is just looked at as someone who does paper pushing and input and details of the employees and nothing else. We're just administration, not as a business partner or strategically, when HR should be at a strategic level, meaning that we should be in the boardroom if nobody else is.
Yeah.
Because we help carry out business strategy.
Yeah.
What I found in the industry is that they focus only on the technical side. That's the engineering side. You cannot have a successful project without managing the people. You can't have a project manager without managing the people. You can't have a construction manager without managing the people. And everything involves people. Mm-hmm. So they don't look at that.
Yeah. It's not seen as important, but is an integral.
It is. And so, again, it's being able to see people for and give people chances, like you said. And I think that's important. Like they, not dismiss because you think, because your bias says that, oh, she's not capable, or yeah, what do she know? She just HR, or she just this and that. And that's what you get. But I'm the type of person, I'm very, very, I'm like you, I'm kind of stubborn. I push forward and I'm like, I'll show you better than I can tell you.
Yes. Yes, 100%.
That's how I am. I'll be like, I'll show you better than I could tell you. And like you said, I create my own table. I create it quickly. I will be in the same areas as you. And if you don't allow me to do it, I will do it. I will still get through. Yeah. And that's how it may take me longer. I may have to find other ways to get in, but I will get there.
100%. And on that amazing note, Theresa, to sum up what are some of the things that people can do, that everyone can do to help try to lessen the burden of this issue? What can companies do? What can individuals do? What can we do, everyday person? What can we do to try and make things a little bit better?
Well, I think it starts all at management. I think it starts higher up, because that's where the issue comes from. You need open, in order to see things through, you need a manager who's able to look at things in another way, be more innovative and look at diversity as being important first. And then it will trickle down to the culture and other staff, again, including women, at the board level. And so that has to come from upper management, senior management, and being inclusive, getting more women ideas and involving them in some of the day-to-day and technical side, and don't just push them out as just being admin, because that's another issue I see in engineering and construction sector. The women are just good to take phone calls or do the push the numbers, do the numbers, and sit in the office. Allow them to go on site sometimes to see some of the other aspects of the business and move them forward. Another thing is that have a clear career path. Don't, because what we find is that they push the men into management and leadership, and the women just stay behind. Or if they do push the women, it's the women that's aesthetically attractive or look a certain way or fit, be a good face for their company, is what I've seen. So promote people based on their capabilities. And the only way to find out what people are capable of, to do performance management and have career development programs, and have all of that in place, as well as the flexibility, being flexible and not catering to one specific needs, but having fair policies in place to kind of help support some of the women, and so that you won't lose staff. You're able to bring people in and attract more women into the industry. And I know everyone is attracting women, but again, not trying to go off topic, but even in the fire, there was a case in the US, a firefighter, she went for a job and they asked her, are you planning on having kids? And she sued because you wouldn't ask a man That's if he's planning on having kids. And there was another engineering company that I worked for. They asked the manager the same question.
Mm.
Are you
Yeah.
planning on having kids? But the company was in another country.
Mm.
The head office was in another country. And
Mm.
I guess in that country it was okay to ask that. But
Exactly.
it's not okay.
Mm. The policies need to be reflective of, yeah, like you say, again, culture, the way things are done, the laws in the local countries, even if you have a multinational company. Those are some really great things that companies can start doing now. Sit down with consultants, sit down with advisors to help support you with how to do that. Sit down with your people, have a team meeting, have a all town hall meeting and say, look, how can we improve the way that in which we're expressing diversity in our firm? How can we improve diversity in the firm? What can we do to support you? Have a survey go out and find out what your company is actually doing, not what you think it's doing, but how the people, the individuals who work there day to day are actually feeling about your internal culture of diversity.
And we offer, well, I offer that type of employee engagement software that will help you find out what's the leadership perception gap. You also need to have anonymous whistleblowing procedures in place,
Yes.
and have it open so that people can address, so that you can know what's going on, because at higher up, senior management, they usually don't know what's going on at operations level. They're not everything. They can't keep up with everything. Some leaders sit in their office and they are oblivious to
Mm.
what's going on the operation level. So
100%. Yeah.
yeah.
And it's not just the responsibility of corporates and management. That is one aspect of it. We should not think, okay, it's just for the companies to be responsible for. We have responsibility as individuals to make improvements to this. We have to ourselves make changes and things that how we do what we do in order to do that. Set boundaries for yourself. Set boundaries in terms of how you want to be spoken to, how what where you how far you want to take something. If you are not happy with something, either remove yourself quietly if you don't feel comfortable to say, look, I'm not happy with this conversation, or I don't like where this is going, or I'm not comfortable here. If you do feel comfortable, definitely say that and explain. If not, then just remove yourself. Set boundaries. Say, excuse me, I've got to just excuse myself for a moment, and remove yourself. That's something you can do as a personal individual to try and change that situation. Banding together, allyship, women supporting women in every aspect, men supporting women, everybody basically supporting each other's plight and difficulties. I think that's super.
And work on resilience as well. I mean, not saying you have to take everything,
Mm,
but building up a strong resilience will
mm,
also help us as women navigate through some of these difficult industries and areas. And unfortunately, we have to be that way at this
yes.
point of time.
Yeah, exactly. Working on certain skill sets, building up confidence, do confidence building, team building, leadership skills training. These are things that you can do to try and help build your confidence. Take up a martial art. I did it, and that helped me with building my confidence. I tell you, that was something that really brought confidence out of me, which I had in me. It just needed to come out, show it to out the outside world. So I did that. I took up martial arts. That really helped me. So things like that you can do to try to make things better for yourself in terms of your experience, and ask for help and support. Always just make sure you do reach out and speak to somebody, and whether it is to do with your own personal issues, or things that you're struggling with, menopause or hormonal issues, or speak to a counselor. Don't be afraid to ask and seek for help.
Because you're so strong and I'm very strong, do you find that people get insecure about how strong you are?
Yeah,
I find that people
yeah, of
kind
course.
of, that's another issue, another topic to talk about, but
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah, I find that people kind of like, again, that's where confidence come in at.
It's one of those things you kind of like, oh, I did all this work to be confident, and now you're super confident. Everyone's like, you're so confident, because they're not used to seeing that in a woman, and then it's like, so you're on the other side of it. It's like, but as you said, that is,
It's something that I think we need to talk about at a later
yeah,
time, because what is overly confident?
it's tough, and that is a
We
yeah,
just
that
can't
is a
win.
huge one. Yeah, and we know a lot of strong, confident women, and it's a definite struggle. for us in some instances. So yeah, that will definitely be another topic. But I think today we've covered so much, and there is still so much, I suppose, to cover. But it just shows you the depth and breadth of this conversation and how important it is to keep having these conversations, that we have. And before we close out, Theresa, did you have any last words or any last bits of advice or anything that you wanted to share with everybody?
Yes, just to keep pushing through. Don't let anyone tell you you can't do anything. And if they tell you, keep on pushing through. Keep on, show them what you can do. And there's different ways you can show them. You may not show them in their organization, but you can show them outside of it. Just show people what you're capable of and don't worry about the naysayers.
That's absolutely right. Just wanted to say thank you, everybody, for listening and watching the Don't Speak on It podcast, the podcast that makes you feel energized, informed, and empowered. I am Slaheoldine.
And I'm Theresa, and to remember to always speak on it.